The flow was a full 10 meters from the shore. How could one person, a group of dogs, make it across? It all depended on this lead dog. The master secured the rope on the ice, but tied the other end to Togo. Then lifted Togo up and over. Togo leaped and landed on the bank. Without a moment's delay, he dashed forward. The master hoped that one dog could pull the entire ice sheet. Togo fiercely charged through the snow, yet the ice remained unmoved. His companions behind cheered him on. At 12 years old, Togo sprinted forward with all his strength. Enduring charge after charge, the massive ice blocks began to inch forward. Seeing this, the master quickly untied the rope, commanding all the dogs to charge ahead. They successfully leaped to the other side. In the following journey, the master feared Togo's aging body might not endure, so he had him sit on the sled to rest. But Togo jumped back down. Under the master's gaze, Togo returned to the front of the team once more. This heroic dog was not a fiction. For saving the lives of over 50 children, it was voted as the most courageous animal in history. Its name was Togo. Yet, when it was born, it was a sickly pup. Weak and ailing, nearly abandoned by its owner. Sapala believed in the survival of the fittest, that it should be eliminated. Only thanks to his wife's insistence was Togo saved in the end. Unexpectedly, a month later, Togo had turned the corner. Alive and full of vigor, seemingly endless in energy, especially mischievous, causing trouble everywhere. Sapala couldn't find a way to handle it. Ultimately, he had to let it roam freely, but Togo was relentless, even swaggering in front of his master. In the end, Sapala had to give Togo to a friend. Though his wife was reluctant, she was powerless, only able to watch Togo being taken away by the friend. However, they never anticipated that the next day Togo would be returned. Such a playful dog, beyond the control of most people. Seeing this scene, Sapala wore a troubled expression, while his wife couldn't help but smile. In the end, Sapala had no choice but to lock Togo in a cage, using stones to block the way out. Now let's see how you will escape this time. Soon after, Sapala took the sled team out for training. Watching their fading figures as they departed, Togo grew anxious in the cage, so it started digging a hole to escape. Its companions were stunned and started digging along, but with stones blocking the way outside, they soon gave up. Togo, however, tirelessly dug 6 holes in a row. It wasn't until the 7th that it successfully broke free. Following its master's scent, Togo dashed over in a flash. The moment it appeared, Togo disrupted the team's formation. This action instantly stirred up the anger of the other dogs. Once ashore, Sapala, drenched from head to toe, decided to properly punish Togo. He locked Togo inside a warehouse, then securely fastened the door shut. Faced with an airtight environment, Togo was indeed at a loss, spinning in circles in the warehouse in desperation. But once it calmed down, Togo began to carefully observe its surroundings, discovering a hole in the roof. With its agile body, it quickly climbed to a higher spot. Soon after, there was a series of clattering noises. Watching Togo, his wife looked indulgent. And just like that, Togo successfully escaped once again, continuing to run towards its master. Unfortunately, luck was not on Togo's side this time. Sapala reached his breaking point, and personally drove a carriage to take Togo to the town. His wife's face was full of reluctance. However, faced with her husband's unwavering decision, she was powerless. Before leaving, Sapala warned the woman that this dog was very mischievous. But by then, the woman was already enchanted by Togo, and paid no heed to his warning. In the end, the wife could only steal her heart and leave Togo alone here. The house in town was very beautiful, yet Togo didn't like it at all. It anxiously searched for an exit in every direction. Finally, it found the right one, so it took 2 steps back, then 2 steps back again. The new owner sensed something was amiss, running wildly for dozens of kilometers, heading towards the sled team. Before long, Sapala suddenly heard the familiar barking, but Sapala couldn't fathom how Togo managed to cover dozens of kilometers to find him. Seeing Togo's paws oozing blood, Sapala's heart softened, deciding to take him back home. He wanted to carry Togo onto the sled to rest, but Togo was unwilling. Instead, it sat in the lead dog's position. Sapala was at a loss, and ended up placing Togo at the rear. Deciding to give Togo a chance to try, Togo looked at its partner beside it, snarling and showing aggression. However, the next moment, Togo instantly resolved the team crisis. On the journey, Sapala was surprised to find Togo's speed and endurance were astonishing, clearly surpassing its teammates in the same row. Sapala suppressed his inner joy and moved Togo up another row. Setting off once more, Sapala's excitement was palpable, because he discovered Togo's speed was also remarkable in this position. So he moved Togo forward another row, and then another. When the sled team returned, his wife looked up to see Togo already in the lead dog position. Watching this scene, his wife was filled with relief. And at this moment, Sapala was extremely excited, excitedly telling his wife, "It's not just a sled dog, it's a king of dogs. It's a born leader, destined to create a legend." From then on, Togo became a full-fledged sled dog. Togo also lived up to his owner's expectations. In the sled team competition held in the town, Sapala continuously won championships. In the blink of an eye, 12 years had passed. Life was expected to remain peaceful. But one day, the town was hit by an outbreak of diphtheria. Dozens of children were infected, and 5 had already succumbed to the disease. To make matters worse, a once-in-a-century blizzard was about to strike. Planes and trains were all halted, and the life-saving serum was 400 miles away. So everyone pinned their hopes on the sled teams. Undoubtedly, Sapala's team was the best choice. But at this time, Togo was already 12 years old. His wife strongly opposed taking Togo along, worried that the round trip might be too much for Togo's health. But Sapala understood deep down that without Togo, this mission would be impossible to accomplish. As they prepared to depart, they embraced each other. His wife turned back into the house, tears streaming down her face, because this could possibly be the last time they see each other. Due to the urgency of the situation, Sapala set off. The entire town came to the streets to see Sapala off. They were the parents of those children, and this sled team was their last hope. The blizzard was fierce. Sapala geared up, leading the sled team into the storm without hesitation. To save time, he decided to cross the large mountain. But while descending, the sled team's speed unconsciously increased, making it impossible to see the road ahead clearly. Ahead lay a sheer cliff. Finally, they stopped less than a meter from the cliff edge. Sapala shouted for Togo to run upwards. Togo carefully turned around upon hearing this command, then dashed fiercely upwards. The other teammates were too scared to move. Togo charged again and again, gradually becoming exhausted, with blood seeping from its paws. But under the command of its master, it continued to push upwards despite the pain. The other teammates also turned around and ran upwards. In the end, with Togo's effort, the sled was pulled up. Then Togo approached Sapala, licking his cheeks continuously. Sapala looked at Togo's injured paws, and couldn't help but feel heartbroken. They arrived at a nearby relay station when it was dark. A kind woman briefly treated Togo's wound. Before dawn, they set off again. To save time, Sapala made a bold decision to cross the treacherous Norton Sound directly. Indeed, shortly after they started, the ice around them began to crack slowly. The occasional cracking sounds made even the experienced Sapala nervous. The dogs were scared and unsure of what to do. Sapala encouraged them on the side. "We are happy now, because we are champions now." With each generous word, the dogs gradually regained their confidence. At the same time, their story was being reported. People were discussing the safety of Sapala and the dogs. Under the pressure of public opinion, the mayor decided to send out 20 sled teams to meet them, to help Sapala complete the serum delivery mission. Due to the long journey, Sapala was almost overwhelmed by fatigue and drowsiness, relying solely on Togo to lead the team forward stubbornly. Unexpectedly, at this critical moment, they just missed the relay team passing by. By the time the relay team members noticed, it was too late. Shouting loudly behind him to get Sapala's attention, but the wind and snow were too loud. Sapala, too exhausted, didn't notice at all. At this moment, Togo seemed to hear something. So when the relay team members thought they had missed them completely, they suddenly heard a few dog barks around the corner. It turned out that Togo, at the last moment, found the men. Sapala also successfully obtained the life-saving serum. After resting for a night at the supply station, Sapala hit the road again, because if they could gain just 1 minute, the children would have 1 more minute to live. But unexpectedly, they suddenly made a right turn, heading straight towards the dangerous strait.
Sapala! No!
In order to buy more time for the children in the town, Sapala unexpectedly decided to once again risk crossing the strait. At this moment, the temperature was below -60 degrees. The ice beneath them was several tens of centimeters thick. But due to the influence of a hurricane, the several tens of centimeters thick ice was continuously cracking. They found that there was no way forward. And to make matters worse, the compass was damaged at that moment. Now there were only 2 directions left and right. But Sapala had no idea which way to go. Now they could only rely on the lead dog Togo to determine the direction. In this critical moment, Togo made a turn and charged towards the dangerous right side. Sapala suddenly realized the danger. At this moment, Togo accelerated and ran wildly. The ice was cracking more and more severely. Togo was not afraid at all, bravely pushing forward. Suddenly, a crack in the ice was too wide, and the sled got stuck. Togo struggled to pull it. Sapala thought they had successfully escaped. Just as they were about to reach the other side, the last piece of floating ice blocked their path. Sapala lifted Togo and with all his strength threw Togo onto the shore. Togo charged forward time and time again, almost exhausted, but it did not stop, because only it could save its master from danger. Finally, the floating ice began to move inch by inch. Seizing the opportunity, it rushed up, successfully reaching the other side. Later, they arrived at another relay station to rest. Watching the barely breathing Togo in his arms, the woman shed tears of pity. She didn't know what Togo had been through in these few short days, to be injured so severely. However, the next day, they had to hit the road again. Sapala wanted Togo to rest on the sled, but Togo kept jumping off the sled time and time again, coming to the front of the team, standing proudly in its rightful place. Sapala could only compromise as he felt helpless. However, the next stretch of the journey was not smooth. Due to the heavy snow and wind, Sapala could no longer see the road. He approached Togo, telling Togo that he was completely exhausted, begging it to hold on until they reached the next relay station. The snowfall grew heavier, but in the end, Sapala couldn't resist the fatigue. He collapsed on the sled and fell into a deep sleep. After an unknown period of time, when Sapala woke up, he found the sled had come to a stop. The dogs were lying on the ground motionless. Sapala approached Togo. By now, Togo was also exhausted. Sapala pleaded with it to hold on a little longer. They were almost there. They would die if they stayed here. But Togo was just too tired this time. No matter how much Sapala begged, Togo wouldn't get up. Just as Sapala was about to fall into despair, suddenly, a beam of light appeared behind him. It turned out Togo had already brought his master to the relay station. It successfully completed the task entrusted to it by Sapala. The serum was also brought back to the town by the relay team. This arduous task was successfully completed. The journalist took a photo of the dog that ran the final leg of the relay. It became a hero in the eyes of the people, while the true hero, Togo, lay at home barely breathing. In this escort mission, 20 teams participated. Among them, 19 teams ran an average of over 50 kilometers, while Togo's team ran 425 kilometers. They were the real heroes. Sapala had no regrets about this. But the only thing that pained him deeply was Togo's front legs being crippled. A few days later, Sapala prepared to leave. Togo hobbled along behind him. Though reluctant, Sapala still left Togo at home. Watching his master's figure disappear, Togo seemed to return to scenes from his youth. To his wife's surprise, it ignored her attempts to stop it and opened the door. Just like 12 years ago, Togo successfully escaped, hobbling towards his master in a frenzy, wanting to rejoin the sled team once again. Gradually, Togo seemed to forget the pain. Sapala finally heard Togo's voice. Looking back, he saw Togo running towards him, just like in the old days. This hero dog was not a fictional character. Because it saved the lives of over 50 children, it was voted as the most courageous animal in history by people. Later, Its story was adapted into a movie.